Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm really excited to talk about this stuff because for me, Midnight Madness and Vanguard are two of my favorite programs amongst the entire TIFF lineup. What can you tell me a little bit about this year's selections?
Well, this year I'm really excited about the Midnight Madness and Vanguard lineup. And as you know, first we'll talk about how Midnight Madness is, in case your viewers don't know. What is this? Midnight Madness during the Toronto National Film Festival, every night at midnight, obviously, we show a weird and wild and wacky film from around the world. These can be horror films, these can be action films, these can be black comedies, thrillers, and it's at the Ryerson Cinema, so it's a 1,200-seat movie theater. The audience is probably one of the most enthusiastic audiences that comes to the film festival.
To say the least.
of any other audience, that's the audience that wants to be there the most. So the series has been around for 26 years and has really developed a pedigree where people know that they're going to see something different. They're going to see something weird, wonderful, and maybe bizarre. So filmmakers like Eli Roth started in Midnight Madness with Cabin Fever. The martial artist Tony Jaa with Ong Bak started there. We've been able to really kind of introduce a lot of neat and new and fun talent. And it's just, if you want something different, but you want it to be fun, go to Midnight Madness. So this year, the lineup, we've got a really nice selection of films from, and it's international, so we've got films from America, we've got a film from Finland, we've got a film from Belgium, we've got a film from Spain, we've got a film from New Zealand, and we've got a film from Japan. And we've got a film from Canada, but I can't talk about that one until the Canadian press conference.
Okay.
So let me ask you this. When it comes to horror films, what kind of stuff do you like? I'm like a sommelier for these things. What are your tastes?
Oh, it's very broad. I mean, Evil Dead, of course.
Okay.
That kind of, indie genre, I do appreciate quite a bit.
Okay, so what I would suggest for you, I'm going to tailor-make your
Awesome,
selection.
yeah.
Okay, is we have a film called It Follows.
Yep.
It's playing on the first Sunday. It's by the director who did Myth of the American Sleepover, second-time director. And this one is it's an indie film. This one is so smart and refreshing and different. It's about a young girl who goes out on a date with a boy she's been seeing, and, magic happens. But that's where the trouble starts. It's basically about a sexually transmitted haunting.
It's very clever.
And I saw this in Cannes, and it just really made me sit up. It's so new. It's such an interesting twist on the genre. So yeah, It Follows. I think you're going to like that.
That sounds awesome.
Towards the end of the festival, on Friday, the last Friday of the festival, we have a film called What We Do in the Shadows.
Right.
And this is a Christopher Guest-like mockumentary about 4 roommates in Wellington, New Zealand, who happen to be vampires, ranging from the ages of around 150 to like 4,000. And it's what these vampires have to deal with, the chore wheel. One of them hasn't done the dishes in 5 years. There's a really fun thing. They go out at night. They can't go into clubs because if you're a vampire, you have to be invited in. And so they go up to doormen like, no, you have to ask, can you ask us to come in? And like, no, that's not how it works. Just go in, guys. It's like, no, you have to. Anyways, really, really funny, What We Do in the Shadows. And then I'm going to kind of tip you off on, here's the thing. There's going to be films that don't need the promotion that
Of course.
You're going to be hearing everything about the Kevin Smith film Tusk, okay? So just watch the trailer. You'll be in if you like that trailer. But we have a film on the opening Friday from Finland called Big Game. Big Game, it's by a director. It's his second film. He did a film called Rare Exports, which is a very bizarre Christmas film, to say the very least. This film is about a 13-year-old boy who's spending 24 hours in the forest. He's been sent out with a bow and arrow to basically kill an animal, prove himself to be a man to his father who's back at the hunting camp. What comes crashing into the forest in the middle of the night but the escape pod for Air Force One. The president's plane has been shot down, and it's up to this 13-year-old boy to rescue the president from terrorists who are chasing after him. And who plays the president? Samuel L. Jackson. So big game. So yeah, there you go. I'm tailor making your
I like that
experience.
lineup. I will not deny that. What about Vanguard? I mean, it's always interesting. I mean, one of the things I'm curious too, we can get to later, is how you pick between these two programs, which complement each other, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Well, Vanguard is for Midnight Madness is a little more extreme.
Right.
Not a
Absolutely.
little more. Sometimes it's way more extreme. Okay, so Vanguard's a little more extreme, a little more adrenaline packed. Vanguard is taking the same material and it's slightly more sophisticated.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that it's slower necessarily, it's just maybe a little bit more mature.
Right.
It's been actually cited as, my wife came up with the expression that Vanguard is like Midnight Madness's cooler older sister. You know, the girl's like, okay, so you've seen Evil Dead? Okay, now you've got to watch this.
Nice.
Like, takes it to the next level. So that's what Vanguard are. It's films which are dark, dangerous, edgy, and sexy, but sophisticated.
Mm.
So within that program, I mean that's a really kind of mixed bag. But within some of the films that I've selected, I work with the programmers to kind of.
Right.
I do around 5 films that are my selections, but then I work with the programs to kind of figure out what fits within that. There's the new Takeshi Miike film, Over Your Dead Body, which is kind of like a return to his really kind of under your skin creep out thriller Audition.
Right.
Then we have a really creepy film called Goodnight Mommy from Austria, about 2 boys living in a kind of a beautiful like summer home in Austria, and their mother comes back, she's had some facial trauma, and so she's got bandages on and she's just recovering, and she just tells them to calm down, just like let her relax and just relax, just take things easy. And they start to doubt whether or not this is their mother. And they decide that this mother is not theirs. And it escalates from there.
Wow.
Yeah, really creepy. But then on the flip side of it, there's a really beautiful film called Luna by Dave McKean. Dave McKean is the artist who worked with Neil Gaiman and did all of the great Vertigo comics that DC put out. So Sandman, he did Arkham Asylum, he did Mirror Mask with Neil Gaiman. This is his new film, and it's about a group of friends who reunite. They were all friends from art college, and each one of them have their own personal baggage and their emotional baggage. And Dave McKean brings this to life. These fears and these grudges and these heavy issues come out in animation, stop motion animation, illustration. It's just this very richly layered tapestry of magic realism. So yeah, not something for Midnight Madness, but something for that viewer who is now realizing, okay, here are adult issues that I have to deal with.
Right.
But there's still this element of the fantastic within it.
That's awesome. I mean, that's what I love. I mean, I find every year I end up picking the films that I'm going to screen early or, go check out are the ones. Vanguard and Midnight Madness are top of my list usually. I mean, of course there's galas and other films in there, but yeah, it's a great lineup.
And the tips that I would give, I mean, if you're watching this and you've never done the film festival, I would say just plunge right on in. Pick something that you haven't seen before, from a country you haven't seen before. I mean, let's be blunt and frank. If it's a gala, you're probably going to be able to see it later on down the road.
Absolutely.
See something from Belgium that you're never going to be able to see projected on the big screen. Usually the director is in attendance, sometimes actors, there's an engaging Q&A. Just dive right on in. Don't be intimidated by the festivalness of it all, because it's a lot more accessible than I think people realize. Just kind of dive in. And the other interesting thing is you can kind of start to figure out tastes of programmers and the tastes of filmmakers and follow that along.
Right.